Well, good morning and welcome to Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where for a limited time you can get 2 croissant breakfast sandwiches for the price of $6, Mr. Lolley.
Or you can get the breakfast special, which is a sandwich, hash browns, and coffee for $3.99.
We are going to talk some weird football. I mean, I don't know what that was. You covered a tie before?
Yeah, I covered the tie between the Steelers and Falcons, the Plexico Burris game. Michael Vick, I believe it was 2000, 2001, somewhere around that. Maybe it was 2003. Anyways, this didn't feel like that, though. That game was back and forth, and there was some flow to the game. There was none to this game.
Now, this was a whole lot of stupid mixed in with 6 Pittsburgh turnovers.
And a whole bunch of penalties.
And where do you go from this other than to talk about 6 turnovers? Because the rest of it, T.J. Watt and his 4 sacks, another James Conner and everything, that's great. It doesn't matter.
Didn't add
6
up to a
turnovers.
Win. Yeah. And I'm sure in Cleveland they're talking about the Myles Garrett game and how great he was in this game. Turned the tide of the game, kind of changed the momentum with the 2 forced fumbles.
Just a weird, disjointed day. T.J. Watt did have 4 sacks and the blocked field goal that would have won the game for Cleveland.
Other than that, he really didn't do much.
No, he wasn't
11
much
tackles
of an
to go
impact
in there
player.
as well. There were some really impactful guys in this game. You look at James Conner had a big game other than the fumble. Myles Garrett for Cleveland had a monster game, 6 tackles and the 2 big forced fumbles that he had. Denzel Ward had 2 interceptions. I think this is getting to be a much more competitive series. It's going to be much more competitive down the road. The Browns finally seem to have gotten some guys with some of those high draft picks who can play a little bit.
We're not going to agree on this. I mean, we're going to agree on the obvious. I mean, yeah, the defensive guys, Garrett and Ward looked.
They're still the same offensively challenged Browns. They got 6 turnovers and put 21 points in.
Yeah, I mean, offensively there was just nothing there.
I mean, this is
other than Jarvis Landry and a couple of deep routes and.
This is a tough game to judge either offense on, really, though, because of the way the weather was. I mean, if I'm the Steelers coming out of this game, I'm disappointed that I didn't get more turnovers because we saw some weather kind of related turnovers come out of the Steelers. We didn't see that happen.
Well, in fairness, we knew that the one strength, and it might be the only one other than mobility that Tyrod Taylor has, is that he doesn't give the ball up.
Not much.
And if in a game like this, maybe that's the number one thing you want from your quarterback is to be that quote-unquote game manager.
And this was the first time. The Browns did not win the turnover battle one time last year. They were the first team in a 16-game schedule not to win the turnover battle one time in a game. Yeah. They did it today.
6-1. Ben and AB, AB said after the game that it was just a matter of not really being on the same page. In particular, the one deep ball that ended up in an interception. But Cleveland also put a lot of bodies on him, didn't they?
They did, and they wanted to make sure that he did not beat them in this game, and they did a pretty nice job of that. Now, he did have the 1 touchdown catch, and I think he finished with 7 catches for 69 yards. And, it's by his standards not a great game. He had come into this game averaging 8.5 catches and 125 yards against the Cleveland Browns in his last 8 games. Now, he didn't have anything like that, but I thought, the Steelers put up over 400 yards of offense. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I still look at the offense and wonder if the big play, the 69-yarder to Juju Smith-Schuster, was something that I felt on the inside was open and available to them all day, and it took way too long for either Ben or Randy Fiedner to recognize it, and who still knows who's calling plays here.
I mean, they tried it early in the game, and Ben underthrew AB on the first third down of the game.
That's right.
And he's probably still running if they hit that one because they're not catching Antonio Brown like they caught Juju Smith-Schuster.
And then what's all this Justin Hunter? What is that all about?
It comes down to James Washington not being ready to be out there in some of the hurry-up packages and be ready for some of the audible stuff.
He got on the field a little bit.
Yeah, but I thought coming into this game that Switzer would actually get more playing time. They know he's going to be active every week. And he had a couple of nice punt returns.
He did.
Some kick returns. But they're trying to, I think, force him a little bit in the offense because they know he's going to be active every week.
Defensively, I mean, it's Cleveland. The offense is still very, very Cleveland.
Yes.
And you saw the Steelers were just knifing through there, everybody. It wasn't just T.J. Watt and his 4 sacks, not taking anything away from that. He was unbelievable. Bud Dupree got back there. Vince Williams was making penetration. Everybody was.
There was a lot of pressure. Yeah, there was a lot of pressure.
They were through there, yeah.
And the only way that the Browns scored those last 2 touchdowns were on short fields. One was a 40-yard drive, I believe, and the other one was a 1-yard drive.
And the only other times they moved the ball were these little prayer tosses that Tyrod would make to a Jarvis Landry, whoever. It was just basically go up and get it type balls. And eventually, we first saw Cam Sutton get beat on one for a touchdown, and then we saw Cam Sutton respond nicely. But overall, defensively,
if I'm one of the defensive guys in the team, I don't feel terrible about this game. I don't feel great about it because you didn't win, and they did give up a bunch of rushing yards. Now a lot of that was to Tyrod Taylor scrambling. Yes. But I thought overall, other than the one drive, they stopped the run pretty well. The opening drive of the second half, Cleveland ran the ball pretty effectively. But outside of that, I thought the defense really controlled the game until the offense started turning the ball over in droves.
I was going to say until this happened, and then until that happened, and then
You're
until
allowed to
this
stop
happened.
them on that stuff.
It's just a bizarre day. It almost feels like next week against Kansas City will be like the real opener,
To a large degree, yes, and I think we talked in a previous segment about the AB and Ben not being on the same page. Well, they didn't play together in the preseason.
Good way of looking at it.